Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ and Friends. I'm here with my co-host Bailey today, and I cannot wait for today's show because as somebody who is going through cancer treatment, there is nothing more inspiring for me to learn than of a survivor, somebody that has not only survived cancer but is thriving. And today's guest, one of today's guests, has been a 18-year cancer survivor of pancreatic cancer, which for many people, including my brother, can be a death sentence. He was diagnosed at the age of 60 and he was gone within 3 months of the diagnosis. Joining John Burke today is Erica Pope, and she is the executive director of the Mi1 Foundation. And you're going to find out what is so special about this organization they both work with, because there's an opportunity for those of us like me that are going through active cancer treatment to go to camp for free as an adult. And as a child, there is nothing that I enjoyed more, other than maybe Disneyland, which apparently John loves as well, than going to
Absolutely.
summer camp. I went to summer camp, South Shore Day Camp, every year until I was 10 years old and moved to California. This was in Chicago. And even one year I went to overnight camp at Moshava. There was a Jewish camp in Wild Rose, Wisconsin. And I think there's nothing funner than camp. So let's welcome to the show, Erica and John. Hello. And you guys are my neighbors. I had to get cancer to meet you.
That's
Isn't
not
that
the way it
crazy?
should be, right? But
Yeah.
hi, thanks for having
Yeah,
us.
no, but literally, you live in my city, and I don't think I've had anybody in Roseville on the show. So, well, thank you. But I got to tell you a funny story. I mean, I believe in God, and this is how God intervenes. Because how did I find you? I don't know. I had no support for the first, year and a half. I didn't have any resources or know anything, but I love to play games, and I'm on a trivia team. And you guys probably know of the Garden of Eden restaurant, right? On Blue Oaks.
Yep.
Dinner last night.
Okay, that's so funny. So that well, we can meet. And so I'm on a trivia team, and we play there on Tuesday nights. And so, you can't really, you can talk a little bit, but you can't use your phone because then get disqualified. So there's like a lag every time they ask a clue. If we return our answer in, like, there's 2 minutes and like you're just sitting there, like, can't really talk and you're waiting. So the restaurant has this magazine for free inside. And I picked it up because, I'm vegan and it said eat more greens. And they actually had an article about a vegan restaurant that's in here. So I'm flipping through the magazine, waiting, for the answer to be announced. And I see this small little ad, and it's about a nonprofit organization in Roseville that sends adults to camp for free that have cancer. And I was just like, I'm just like finally something good about having cancer. And so I contacted you, and here we are today. So maybe Erica, tell us a little bit about like the Mi1 Foundation, what you do, and how this camp got created, and then we'll get to John's story because it involves working at the camp now.
It does. Yeah, the tie-in is incredible. And I love that you mentioned how much you love camp. Like camp is really, really fun. And honestly, that's what the Mi1 Foundation is all about. So not only do we send adult cancer patients and their loved ones to camp, we send them to Camp Wieser, which is the name of our program that we host. And not only do we raise funds to send families there, but we put it on as well. So every year in September, we host up to 35 families who are struggling with cancer. And I say family because it's the adult cancer patient and their loved ones, whatever that support system looks like for them. So it can be a mom and a dad and their children. It can be a group of sorority sisters. It can be a young adult and their parents, uncles, friends, whatever that support system looks like for you during your cancer journey. We want to host you there at Camp Wieser, which is held in Scotts Valley in the Santa Cruz Mountains, which honestly, I don't know of a more beautiful place on earth that you can visit to escape cancer for a weekend. But we are a very small nonprofit founded right here in Roseville, and this will be our 17th year of hosting families at Camp Wieser. We've evolved over the years and we've grown, and right now we are pretty much at max capacity. But what camp is all about is really bringing families together who are struggling and giving them a chance to find some hope, some laughter, and really just have some fun, make memories with each other, do some things maybe out of their comfort zone. And the whole idea is surrounded around that idea of attending camp. So we have adventure activities, we have an ice cream social, we do a whole day spa is set up on site. So every family gets the opportunity to have spa treatments, which include massages and facials, manicures, pedicures, even haircuts. We've had caregivers who come and say, you know what, the last time I've had a haircut, I can't really remember because I'm always spending so much of my time taking care of my loved one who is going through chemo and radiation and all those things that go along with cancer. So Camp Wieser is meant to support not only the adult, but their support system and that primary caregiver. We have yoga classes and side retreats where the caregiver can take like caregiving classes with a professional. We've got professionally run art classes. It's just a beautiful, beautiful weekend. And it takes, gosh, over 150 volunteers each year to put this camp on. And our volunteers come back year after year. It just is a beautiful thing. I don't want to give too much away, and I don't want to take away too much of John's story. So I'd love for you to hear about John's cancer journey and how he got connected to the Mi1 Foundation, and then we can tie back in, and I can answer some more specific questions about what camp looks like and how we're funded.
Absolutely, because I mean, I had no idea you needed that many volunteers. So anybody that's watching it,
Yeah,
like, could they contact you if they wanted to volunteer for that weekend?
please, please do.
That sounds amazing. I'm hoping to be there, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be alive. But if I am, I mean, you never know. But there's a link below if you want to make a donation. I never asked for this, but this is like an organization that I can really get behind because it's small, it's a nonprofit, and every little penny helps in a case like this. But maybe you have a skill, like like you are a masseuse, or you can do face painting. Maybe you'll volunteer and you get to come to camp. So let's welcome John, 18 years with a cancer that many people are more afraid of than any other kind of cancer, pancreatic cancer. When did you get diagnosed? Well, obviously 18 years ago, but how did you get diagnosed?
Right. Well, back in 2006, my wife and I, as well as some extended family, we were all planning to take our kids to that magical world called Walt Disney World. And while we were doing the planning, I started having some abdominal pains that was making me literally double over in bed. And I would sit in a fetal position for like a couple hours at a time, trying to deal with the pain that I was dealing with. And so my wife was like, John, you need to go to the doctor and see what's going on because you can't go on vacation like this. You'll be miserable. And so, although I was a bit resistant, I finally gave in and went to the doctors. And he thought that possibly I had caught a parasite somehow. He asked me if I'd done any foreign travel or um, not a lot of foreign travel going on in my life. So I said no. And so started doing some testing, and one test led to the next. Before I know it, I was at UC San Francisco and doing an endoscopy. ERCP is the short name of it. And my doctor told me that while I was on vacation to Walt Disney World, that he would get the results and wanted to know if he wanted me to contact us while we were on vacation or just wait till we got home. And my wife, of course, wanted the phone call, but as the patient, was able to say, no, we'll wait till we get home. So went on to the vacation, and absolutely, it was so apparent that, and I'm glad you said that you're a God believer as well, but God's hands were all over our vacation. It was crazy. I mean, just the things that were happening to us. The very first day we were at the parks, we were asked if we wanted to be the family of the day and try every flavor of Goofy's fudge, so that way he knew which flavor to take with him to the state fair.
Oh, that's
The
fun.
next day, we were in line at the Magic Kingdom, and again, we were approached, and this time it was with all of our extended family, and we were chosen as the family of the day to help Mickey Mouse and his family open up the Magic Kingdom by being a part of the opening ceremonies. And the third day, we were at Animal Kingdom, and we were invited to be the family of the day to ride the safari vehicle and wake up all the animals before all the guests came to visit them. And it was just one thing after another that does not happen without some intervention. So it was pretty amazing. and just had an absolutely great time at Walt Disney World. So much so that by the end of the trip, I was saying, all right, God, so what am I coming home to? And our doctor's appointment was the day after we returned from vacation and walked in. And when the doctor walked in, he didn't even need to say anything because I could just tell by looking at his face that it wasn't good news. And he said, John, unfortunately, I have to tell you that you have been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and you'll be lucky to have 3 to 6 months more to live. And so he said that he was going to set me up with the Sutter team that handles respite, and that it wouldn't be long for me, and that they would just try to keep me out of pain as much as possible for the rest of my time that I was with us. But my wife and I did not take that as the final answer. We started doing our research. We found the pancreatic cancer website, and they told us to go find a pancreatic cancer specialist. And as God would have it, there was one at the UC Davis Medical Center. In fact, there were two pancreatic cancer specialists who my wife forwarded all of our paperwork into, and we got in the very next week. And the doctor started telling us about a procedure called the Whipple procedure, in which they basically take out everything and leave out anything that they can leave out. And then they basically replumbed my digestive tract, taking out half of my stomach, taking out a number of feet of intestines, and put me all back together. And then I was in ICU for a couple weeks, healing from that. And while I was in there, I would have a nurse that would come in and check in on me in the evenings during her shift, and she introduced herself as Heidi Weiser. And as she came to visit me, she found out that I love planning events, and so she started talking to me about her dream of starting a camp for adult cancer patients and their families to get away from the stress of the cancer battle, and to come just get away with their family members and make amazing memories that those family members could hold on to for the rest of their lives, even if their loved one passed away. So I told her, I am on board. I am ready to help you however I can help you. And she's like, John, settle down, settle down. She's like, we want you to come as campers and to experience the camp and have a good time. And so I was like, okay, we'll come as campers. And so from the very first day when we got there, and I saw my little 4-year-old and my 8-year-old daughters running around in bounce houses, jumping down the zip lines and getting their faces painted and just being kids again. It was such an amazing, amazing experience for me as their dad to see them laughing instead of crying, to see them enjoying lives and not stressed out about, is my dad going to die? And they got to meet other kids who were in the exact same pair of shoes that they were in, and understand that it's not just them that is going through this. They made some amazing friends. They took home phone numbers and addresses and became pen pals with a number of the kids who were at the camp. And from that moment on, I knew that the Mi1 Foundation was something that I wanted to dedicate the rest of my days here on this earth, to make sure that this camp was available for other cancer patients. Because, there's a lot of great organizations out there for kids with cancer, but there's not a whole lot going on for the adults with cancer. And while, it's great to see the kids who have cancer being able to have the best time of their lives, the kids of adult cancer patients are struggling big time as well. And so it was great to see that this camp was not just for me, the cancer patient, and not just for my wife, who's the main caretaker, but also for my kids. And so I signed on board, and I told Heidi that if she wanted me to come back to camp, I was going to have to come back as a board member. And so I had to watch what I wished for, because then suddenly I was the camp director and in charge of the camp. Um, and I've been camp director now for about 12, 13 years. And I've been able, as camp director, to invite and host and watch over 300 families have an ultimate weekend that they still talk about today. Chef, you're muted, Chef.
Sorry about that. You still have work a real job. This is a volunteer job for you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I work for a flooring manufacturer and the number one out there. And they are so accommodating and they give me the time that I need to heal, especially after the different procedures that I have. But it does allow me to also be able to do the Mi1 Foundation. And so yes, the I do have a full-time job that pays the bills, and then I'm a volunteer as the camp director for the Mi1 Foundation. And I mean, it pays so much more than money could even give me. So I absolutely love being a part of the Mi1 Foundation and love being able to provide this camp for our campers.
Do people like I have no kids, so are there ever adults with cancer that just come without children?
Yeah, all the time, actually. In fact, we have a lot of times, like Erica said earlier, we'll have families who, maybe they're part of a breast cancer support group. So it'll be the cancer patient and three other actual cancer patients as well that just happen to be guests of the cancer patient that gets chosen. So we have all different types of quote unquote families at camp. We from traditional mom, dad, and the kids to the all different types of groups. A lot of times the adult is an adult, but they're 18 or 19. Well, then they bring mom and dad and maybe brother and sister. So it just depends on it can be anything. It can just be five friends. I mean, family is whatever you define family as.
Absolutely. Except it can't be your furry friends, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, no furry friends at camp.
Oh my. Well, maybe you can start another camp or another weekend once we get you all the more funding. Now, if you don't mind me asking your age, because Cheryl asked, how old were you when you were diagnosed 18 years ago?
I was diagnosed at age 36.
Wow, that's really young. Do you have any thoughts, or did the doctors give you any ideas why they thought you got this particular cancer and why you might have gotten it so young?
No, there's family members who have had cancer but never pancreatic cancer, so it didn't really add up. And they did some testing on me, some like gene testing, and didn't find any familial contacts for that. But sometimes things just happen.
Absolutely. Karen would like to know, how is it that you recovered so well after pancreatic cancer? And other than the surgery, are there any other things you've done?
You know, I I honestly believe it's my faith that's gotten me to where I'm at today. I have a very, very strong relationship with God, and I ask all of my church friends to be praying for me, and I don't believe there's anything of a higher power than that. Um, I also believe, you have to live life with a positive attitude. Even if it's not necessarily that, you're smiling and laughing every single day, you just have to go out and make the most of every day you're given. Because, while sure, as a pancreatic cancer patient, of course, my days are numbered, but so is every person's days. And it doesn't matter if you have pancreatic cancer or you die in a car accident tomorrow. If you left your house in not such a great mood and you've reflected that upon your spouse or your kids, I hope that you have the chance to come home and say you're sorry because you never know if you're going to get that chance or not. So I live every moment as though it's one of my very last. And I specifically ask God to use me in the ways that He finds, that He wants to use me. And so, why do I believe that I'm still here? I believe that I'm still here most specifically to do this camp as my number one, but also to spread and share the love of Christ with others too. So,
You brought tears to my eyes because I feel like in many ways we are two peas in a pod, and I'm very early in my journey. And it's people like you that give me so much hope. And I agree that whether it's cancer or anything, any chronic disease or any life situation, I was talking today on my earlier show about how I have these 10 things I learned from having cancer. And one of them was worrying about it doesn't change the outcome. And so I'm beginning to believe that, my thinking is more important than my eating. I mean, because me, I was like, but I'm a vegan, 50 years, this isn't fair. But it's what you put into your mind is equally important, if not more than what you put into your body sometimes.
right. And for me, I will daily count my blessings. And I know that's saw, but I mean it's true. I mean, I do count my blessings. I mean, I'm so blessed in so many ways. And does cancer suck? It absolutely sucks. I mean, there's nothing good about the cancer itself. However, if it weren't for cancer, if it weren't for me going to UC Davis to find the cancer specialist, I would never have met Heidi. If I would have never met Heidi, I would never have been a part of the Mi1 Foundation. So everything works for God's glory. And I see that in everything that I do. And that's why I do what I do, because I do want to be. I want to be that guy that does give you hope, because there's so much hope to be had out there. And so many people just give up so easily. And it's just like, no, you have to remain positive. You need to be staring all the positive things that happen in your life in the eye and know that God has got you and he is going to provide for you. And do people still pass away from cancer? Absolutely, they do. But then they're only going to a better place. So, I mean,
You
and of
mean,
course,
you mean
all
there's
that
somewhere
depends
better than
on
Rose? You mean there's somewhere better than Roseville?
just barely, just barely.
Or Disneyland?
No.
Does Heidi still work at UC Davis?
Heidi does not work at UC Davis. She is now in Colorado. Erica, do you know what hospital she's at now?
I don't know what medical institution she's with now, but I will tell you that Heidi Weiser is still a very active board member. In fact, we just saw her Wednesday night. We had a board meeting and we were all on Google Meet. So she is very much still involved with the foundation and attends camp every year along with her children.
That's wonderful. I
Yeah,
hope I get
it's
to.
amazing. I mean, it kind of becomes for us like a family reunion each year. It's a chance for us to catch up with one another and to see little Timmy at camp last year. I hadn't seen him in years, and there he was at camp, and he's like towering over me, and he was like, I mean, I don't know, he was sub 13, I think last time I'd seen him. And it was just crazy. It's so awesome. I mean, I've got this entire family that I only have because of cancer. So again, yes, does cancer suck? It does, but there's so many great things that come from it as well. You just have to seek out and go for those positive things. And I would encourage you, if you have cancer, sign up for our camp because it's an amazing weekend. So many people hear Camp Wieser, oh, a camp for cancer patients. That sounds horrible. Why would I ever want to do that? Well, it is far from horrible. And it also is not camping. It's more glamping because you're in the facilities you're in are, I mean, they're definitely not Hilton, but they're also no KOA. So, it's a great facility with real mattresses, with real pillows, and with real showers. So it's an amazing weekend. Being able to go zip line through the forest of the redwoods is just absolutely incredible. It's just a lot of fun. And I mean, there's no other place that you can go where everyone that you run into, they get it. They understand what you're going through.
It
So
sounds, it just sounds, means.
it's an amazing weekend.
No, you said KOA. I just don't know what that means. KOA.
Oh, Campgrounds of America.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just not familiar with that term. Never really have been camping. So, other than the surgery, did you have any chemo, radiation? Do you still have to go for any kind of treatment?
Oh yeah. So I the first 10 years after my initial Whipple procedure were pretty clean. They'd gotten pretty much of the cancer out as they could through the initial surgery. But then I asked my doctor before I even left the hospital, I'm like, okay, so what's next? And he's like, well, what do you mean, what's next? And I'm like, well, on average, the patients that you have who've had the Whipple procedure, what kind of a timeline are we looking at and where should I expect to find cancer next? And he said, well, on average, it's about 10 years and you'll find tumors showing up in your liver. Sure as all heck, and I kid you not when I say, almost to the day of 10 years, I had a scan done and the scan found tumors in my liver. So then I've had gobs of procedures to help with that. So I've had I can't even really think of the names of all the different treatments that I've had. My wife is much more the one who keeps notes on all the different things that I've had done, but I've had probably 6 or 7 different procedures, some of which weren't even around when I first went in for the Whipple procedure. But the nice thing about UC Davis is they stay right on the cusp of the medical enhancements that have been made. So I'm always out there trying things right when they first come out and are released. So, I've had internal radiation done where they will stick these little beads that are full of radioactivity into the blood vessels that are feeding the cancer tumors, and then those will shoot radioactivity into the tumors and kill them. Um, yeah, so most of it has been internal, and then I've had some external radiation as well because the cancer has also now spread into my right femur bone, and so they are trying to knock out that cancer tumor in my femur bone. And then I have another tumor in my spine as well.
How
So
often are they monitoring you and scanning you
monthly.
and things like that?
Yeah, I go in monthly, and then we do scans every 3 months.
Hmm. Yeah. It's an interesting thing about your case, and so many people I've heard from, even, friends that are now friends that have lung cancer, is so many people are diagnosed at stage 4. Are there any way to have like early detection, especially for pancreatic cancer, when you didn't get diagnosed until you actually started having symptoms?
Right. Yeah. Early detection, I'm not really sure if I'm being completely honest right now, as far as if anything new has come out. But I mean, there aren't really the number of tests and pancreatic cancer, while being extremely deadly, it's still not as well funded as, some of the bigger cancers like lung cancer, um, and colon cancer. They've done a lot more research for that. But there is definitely, even going in and just getting a scan done, you can fight for that if you're doing it proactively.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I want to become an advocate, because my understanding is lung cancer is actually one of the most poorly funded because of blaming the person for getting it, because often it's because a person smoked, yet so
Right.
many people get it without smoking. Well, my goal is to be you when I grow up. I would like to go to the camp as a camper this year, and then by 2026, I'll be NDE or in remission, so I can go as either a counselor or a volunteer.
Yeah, it'd be great. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, because I have skills. Like I used to teach arts and crafts at the Braille Institute to the blind, and I'm a chef and I can do that. And I can even teach yoga and all that kind of stuff. So, guys, come on, volunteer at the camp or just make a donation. It doesn't have to be much, because imagine if everybody that subscribed to my channel, almost 250, I was going to say million, I wish, 250,000. But could you imagine if everyone gave $1? That would be $250,000. Think about how many people you could send to camp.
Right. And that
That,
is our
that
biggest.
that's our annual budget. I mean, that honestly, if every single one of your viewers gave $1, we would be able to do camp again next year, no questions, right? And no, right now the world of fundraising is so unknown. There's a lot of nonprofits who rely heavily on government funding. We do not, thankfully. However, now we're all competing for the same donor dollars. Again, we are 100% volunteer driven at camp, and camp is 100% funded through individual donations and sponsorship. So it's nearly 3,000, actually it's a little over $3,000 to send one family to camp. So that's our cost per family. And then again, our annual budget is right around $267,000 a year, and 83% of that goes directly to making our program happen. So our budget is very donor friendly. Our donors are really happy to see those numbers. I want to add something, a little piece about Heidi Weiser, just to touch upon Tom and Heidi's journey. So Tom was her husband. And he was diagnosed with cancer at a young age, also like John, and they too had 4 young children. And as you can imagine, when a cancer diagnosis comes, it turns that family's world upside down. Everything changes at home. the talk around the kitchen table is no longer, oh, how's the game this weekend, and what are we going to do for family vacation. It suddenly becomes, oh my gosh, who's going to take mom or dad or my best friend? Who's going to take them to chemo this week? And how are we going to pay this bill? And I think we're going to need to cancel our family vacation, because how are we going to afford this missing work and having all of these medical bills? So Tom and Heidi had their own cancer journey, and they had the opportunity to attend a camp in Southern California that's modeled similar to ours. And that's where the idea came from. When they attended the camp, they came back, and it was life-changing for them. They thought, wow, this is so amazing. We felt so supported and loved, and we're given so much hope to continue fighting, that we need to do this here in Northern California. So that's how the Mi1 Foundation was originally founded. And Tom and Heidi did camp. Sadly, Tom did pass away. I believe, how many years ago was it, John, that he passed away? It's got to be at least
six.
6 to 10 years.
Yeah,
but like I said, Heidi still comes to camp every year. She's still very involved with the process of getting campers to camp and engaging with volunteers. And like John mentioned, her adult children now also come back and volunteer each year.
That is so cool. So what do you do the rest of the year, Erica? And what does the organization do the rest of the year?
That's a good question. The rest of the year, we spend time doing things like these. Opportunities like this is huge for us. Just getting our name out there. So many times we hear, oh my gosh, how come I've never heard of you? The work that you're doing is amazing. And it's opportunities like this. So anytime we can get in front of a group of people, whether it be through and a platform like YouTube, if it's through our local chamber, if it's through a high school who found out about us, we spend time the rest of the year doing outreach and fundraising, so we can make sure that camp will happen again for those 35 families. Sadly, we could host a camp every weekend. The need is there. Right? The need is there. Thousands and thousands of people are diagnosed with cancer every single day. And in our area, we could fund a camp. We could host a camp every single weekend. We just don't have the funds or the resources. Eventually, we would love to host our own camp. Right now, we rent out a facility in Scotts Valley, and we go there to Santa Cruz. You might think, well, if you're based in Roseville, why don't you just host it in Roseville? Why do you go all the way to Scotts Valley? Well, one, it's beautiful. But two, the real reason is, honestly, it's the only venue that we have found that can house the amount of people, volunteers and campers, and also give our camper families the privacy that they need. So a lot of these families, they can be pretty sick. So each family comes and they all have their very own private cabin and private bathroom the entire weekend that they're there. And that's really, really important. And that is the only place in the greater Northern California area that we've found that can host the numbers that we have with the families and our needs.
Well, I mean, not everyone watches every show, but I have just been very fortunate that since I came out with my cancer 3 months ago, people are being so kind. People are sending me so many gifts. And it's not that I want to say this with all the love in my heart. It's not that I don't appreciate it. I do, but I have so much stuff. If you want to do something for me, and my 65th birthday is 8 days away. Doesn't matter if it's $1. Please, because I'm going to have to get another house to house the amount of gifts that I'm getting from all the wonderful people who I don't even know. Make a donation. This is an organization that your donation will make a difference in somebody's life in a profound way, and even mine, because I don't know if I'll get accepted. Believe me, I'm going to apply because I want to go to camp. I mean, like that's what's keeping me alive, you guys. I want to go to camp.
It is amazing. It is so much fun. And, John kind of teased about when you call it cancer camp, right? We've had kids come and they're like, I don't want to go to cancer camp. And, young teenagers, and they get there, and by the end of their weekend, everybody's giving everybody hugs. And it's like, well, how do we come back and volunteer? I want to be here next year. And a lot of our volunteers are return campers. Look at John. Right? John was there as a camper with his family, and now he has been the camp director. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, the friendships that are made. And the people that come together from all walks of life. I know faith is so important for so many people, and it's part of their cancer journey. And what's so special about the Mi1 Foundation is that we are a secular organization, and people from every faith and walk of life and economic status, everybody comes together with the common denominator of this awful cancer disease. And at the end of the weekend, everyone has found support in someone that they may not have ever met otherwise. And those lifelong friendships are made. And I cannot tell you how beautiful it is. It's fun to kind of pick and choose, who do you think is going to be best friends at the end of the weekend? And it'll be two people that you never thought would have come together.
Yeah. Have you ever thought of making a documentary? Because I see my brain is spinning right now because I might not know. I mean, I know people that have a lot of money that could fund you for a year, but I can't guarantee they will give it to you. But what I do know is a lot of people that contribute their skills. So being in the comedy world, like I don't know what kind of workshops you have at the camp because I haven't gone, but I know some really well-known teachers of stand-up comedy and improv that could create incredible experiences. And my husband, even though he doesn't do it anymore, he has done documentaries and even filmed. He can shoot, produce, and edit. And if he comes with me, we got to find a babysitter for little Bailey. Like he could do a documentary that weekend, you know?
Yeah, that's something that has crossed my mind in the past, and I think it would be a fascinating documentary to be done, from everything from getting to know these families before they come to camp to actually when they get to camp and how much they enjoy camp itself. And I did want to just mention that I just got an update from our board president who said donations are coming in from your listeners.
Oh my
So
God, guys, thank you so much. And we haven't even sent this out to the mailing list yet. This is wonderful. I really appreciate that. And again, my idea is I don't know if this would be allowed, but let's just say hypothetically, Erica, I know that camp is free, but you said that the patient or the person with cancer can have 5 guests, right?
Yes.
What if I opened it up to 5 people, but they had to pay for their slot to be with me? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, could you imagine like bidding? Because then spend the weekend with Chef AJ, you know?
So I love, as a professional fundraiser, I love how your mind is thinking, like, how can I raise money for this organization, right? And it's these creative outlets from donors and supporters like you that help to fund camp every year. We have people who do paella parties in their home and crab feeds and candle making parties. And if that's something that you want to do on your own as Chef AJ, you can come spend the weekend with me. If you do, XYZ, I'll choose you to be one of my 5. Then that's something, of course, we don't have people pay their way, right? Because then that would kind of defeat the purpose
Right.
of how we do things, because it is completely free for those families. But I
If
love
it's
how your mind is working.
if it's allowed, you know what I'd love to know is maybe either of you, John or Erica, like what is, first of all, is there medical care there in case of emergency? Because I imagine that sometimes when people going through cancer treatment might have, something occur.
That is a great question. And we do have a medical team that is on staff the entire weekend. In fact, one of our board members is an oncology physician through Stanford, and he is there every year as our camp doctor. As well as Heidi is an oncology nurse. She is there every year, and she's part of that medical team. And we have first responders, EMTs, other nurses, other doctors who are longtime volunteers that we kind of assign to that team each year. But yes, to answer your question, there is a medical staff that is there in case of emergencies and just to keep an eye on the patient. In fact, our medical team will review applications as they come in to make sure that all of their needs will be able to be completely met while they're at camp, to make sure that they can stay safe.
Right. So if you can take 5 people, whether it's family or friends or people that pay, do we all stay like in the same bunker kind of thing? Like we all have like our own, like I'm trying to think, because in my camp it was like a cabin. It was like there was no door, like
Yeah. Yeah, no, you
So
would have your own room. So your family or your group shares one room, and John somehow makes it all work and all fit. I think he stays up very late, but he gets all the families their own cabin depending on how many people they have. And some of the cabins have bunk beds, so sometimes people are asked, "Can you get up on a bunk bed?" But yeah, nope, you have your own private cabin with your group, your own room.
And
Awesome.
our volunteers aren't really roughing it either. Their cabins are just done by gender because we can get more volunteers into a cabin if we do it by gender. Um, but yeah, we fill up each one of the cabins, and everyone's provided bedding. They're provided pillows, and towels for showering. So yeah, it's a very well supplied lodging.
For people maybe that either can't give money or just want to volunteer in a different way, do you have any need for volunteers for this year's camp in September?
It's very hard coming on as a brand new volunteer just because we have so many who return year after year after year. Like they put the dates on their calendar from, the time they get going. Um, but there's always openings. So I would say if anyone is interested in being a volunteer for this coming year's camp, we'll probably be opening up volunteer applications in the next 2 months. And when we open those up, it is a first come, first serve type of thing as well. Also based upon the need and what these people want to do while they're at camp, will also determine if we have a need for them or not. But yeah, I would encourage anyone who wants to volunteer to definitely turn in an application. I mean, you do have to understand that we get quite a few because so many of the campers who were once sick and not able to, be a volunteer now want to come back to camp and they want to give this time instead of being on the accepting side of the gifts. Now they want to be able to be some of the volunteers who are now giving to other sick patients. So that's how we get filled up quite quickly on the volunteer side of the house.
Great. Well, thank you. Um, you said that in your bio that you have like a leadership position in men's ministry, which I'm guessing your church is local.
At Bayside Granite Bay.
OMG, I went there. I mean,
Good.
okay, so I go to the other one in Roseville because I love Jason Kane.
So you go to Adventure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mainly because I'm lazy and I don't like to drive and they have an 8:15 service. And what happened is I went to Bayside one Saturday night and I don't know who the regular minister is, but it was Jason Kane and I just fell in love with his
Yeah, he's amazing.
teaching. So I started going there and sometimes I go to Bridgeway. I mean, I find them the way they both make me feel is similar. So,
Right.
and what I love about both of them is you can watch them online. Like if you're not
For
feeling well,
sure.
watch them.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I
And they're
have I have to take advantage of that quite often. So it is very convenient to have it online as well.
Yeah. So either Erica or John or both, what does a day in the life of a typical camper at Camp Wieser look like?
All right,
Well,
John, you want to start on day one? Do you want to tell about
sure.
the greeting, the welcome?
Yeah, absolutely. Day one for us as volunteers is probably the most exciting day of all. Just because to see the people, all of our campers' faces, and just how blown away they are by the reception that we are ready to give them once they enter the property. Each family gets a placard that they put in their windshield, and that's how we know who they are. So it has a number on it, and we can then look on our list and we know what family is coming. And then we have a family host for them. So some of our volunteers are hosts, and they will call their families ahead of time and get to know their family. And then, so by time they actually get to camp, they pretty much already know who their family host is, and they've connected with them. So they're greeted by their family host. Our first day is all Ohana themed, which is Hawaiian themed. And the reason we use Ohana is because Ohana means family, as anyone who's seen, all the Disney movies. But so because of that, they all get a flower lei when they get there, and we welcome them into Camp Wieser. And that night we do what's called our scroll ceremony, where we allow families to get up and introduce themselves, talk about the type of cancer they're dealing with, and they get to hear the stories of all the other families. So then, by the end of the first night, they know who are the families that they'd like to try to connect with during the weekend. After that, we have a ice cream social. So we have ice creams, make your own ice cream sundaes. And of course, everyone loves that. It doesn't matter how old you are, nothing wrong with a homemade chocolate sundae. And so that's pretty much night one because we want to make sure they get into bed early enough because a lot of them have traveled from all over the state to get to camp. So we give them an early night to be able to get to sleep and then wake up early in the morning for breakfast. Erica, take day two.
Oh, day two. Day two is one. Every day is my favorite day. I'm like, oh, day two is my favorite. So day two, their day can be as scheduled as they want it to be, and planned and as structured as they want it to be, or it can be very fluid. Camp is all about them and what they need in that moment. So if they want to just sit under a beautiful tree and read a book, then that's what they can do. Or they can literally schedule all of the activities they want in that day. So you can start your day in the day spa. And I think I mentioned that we have manicures, pedicures, facials, massages, haircuts. Um, you can spend your time in the day spa, or you can go up and start up on the hill where we have our adventure sports and we do zip lining, axe throwing, there's bow and arrow, there's all kinds of lawn games that are up there, from volleyball and foursquare, water balloon fights. And then that day we have lunch, and then we all get ready for, probably, it's definitely the funnest night, I think. It is our Western themed evening and casino night. And we all go back up the hill and we enjoy the night. We all learn how to square dance, which, if you have never taken a professional square dancing class, it is so much fun. We're all in our best cowboy and cowgirl hats and our boots, and we have a professional square dance caller, and he is so good. And we spend hours dancing. We also have a live band that's in the amphitheater. We have a huge bonfire where there's s'mores and everybody is talking and more dancing. And we also have casino night, where a company comes in and they set up all the tables for roulette, blackjack,
Perhaps.
craps. That was so popular this last year. Craps was definitely a hit, but we just have so much fun. And gosh, I think that night we're up pretty late. I think we go to bed around 10, the campers do. And then our volunteers are up even later, um, taking all the hay bales down that they hauled up the morning before. But Saturday is definitely a really, really fun day.
So have you ever had any vegans come? And can we be accommodated?
We
Yeah,
do
we
have,
we
yeah.
accommodate all as many requests as possible. They have a professional staff, kitchen staff, and they give us a list of what is vegan, what is no meat. Um, Pretty much any we try to hit every single need when it comes to the menu.
Nice. I think this is just so exciting. Thank you both for the work you do. It's so to get there from Roseville, how many hours drive is it?
Depends on who's driving, but
And traffic.
depends on
You've
how
ever
how
driven
much
to
you want to
Santa
get there.
Cruz?
Yeah, I always plan for 3 hours just to be safe.
Okay, well,
Um,
that's how long it takes me to get to Stanford for my treatment. So I think that's completely doable because there's no way
yeah,
to take a train or fly or anything like that. Maybe you
no,
could just get a
unfortunately
big
not.
bus and take all of us at the same time, John.
Nice.
Be
That'd be
nice.
something.
That would be so good. If you guys have any questions for either John or Erica. So did you, I know that you are a person of devout faith, but even with that, did you ever like have a glimmer of just, worry or giving up hope? Like, especially, being so young and having such young children, that had to be
Right.
kind of scary.
No, no, absolutely. And I mean, I'd be lying if I sat here and tried to tell you that I've never had any worries or concerns or, question why me, Yeah, I mean, I've done all of that. I mean, I had, when I was diagnosed, a 4-year-old and an 8-year-old daughter. I mean, I didn't think that I was going to see them graduate grade school, let alone see them graduate college. I didn't know that I would be possibly still around when they were ready to walk down the aisle. And, I still, that's my big ask of God, is that I am that guy who gets to walk them down the aisle one day, and they need to get
Nice.
on it. Need to get on it, ladies.
Yeah. And what I would say to people, look, like, I don't like, I never like to be in the person asking for money. And maybe not everyone, a dollar might be too much. But when you think about it, one thing, everybody that's watching, whether you're watching on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or watching the replay, how hard is it to share this episode? That doesn't cost anything but about 2 seconds of your time to forward the link. And maybe there's somebody else that would be inspired by this that could either donate or volunteer or make this dream possible for not just me, but for all the people with cancer. Because, I mean, obviously kids with cancer, it's extremely sad, but, there's Make-A-Wish, there's things like that. But the fact that a resource like this exists for adults is just amazing to me. And thank you. And I'm curious, Erica, like, do other organizations know about you? Because I've had so many on the show. I've had Immerman's Angel, Go To for lung cancer. I'll be hopefully having longevity and, CSC. Did they know about you? Because I've never heard about you. Why isn't the social worker at the hospital telling me about you?
Right, and we do actually, one of our board members works closely with all of the oncology centers and hospitals in the area and even in the Bay Area. And, our board is 100% volunteer. There's only so many of us. So just getting the word out there about what we do is hard. So I don't know if all of those different organizations know about us. We hope that they would, and we hope that all the social workers in every oncology center know about what we do. We have flyers that are in there, and we send our emails, and we have our social media channels. But the more people who know about us, the more families that we can support on this journey. And if you watch our video and you read our testimonials, you know what a life-changing experience coming to camp and meeting other people who are on a similar journey, meeting those people and having a renewed sense of hope and faith and finding joy and laughter, even in the darkest times, what that can mean to a family.
Absolutely. And I don't want to risk the technology not working, but there's a very short video. There's a link to it below in the show notes, at least on YouTube. You can watch and be inspired by that. And I don't want to say the person's name, but there's a friend of mine watching, and this person has cancer, and you know who you are because I see you making a post. I hope you'll apply, and maybe we can be, we could, if you don't have 5 people that you want to go, you can be one of my 5. And wouldn't that be fun? We've spent time together in another healing center to go there. So yeah. Ah, nice.
When we talk about applying for camp and volunteering for camp, John mentioned, it takes up to 200 volunteers every year to put camp on. I know I said 150 earlier, and that's really kind of specifics at camp. That could change. But we do need that pool of volunteers so we can continue to ask, because not everybody can do it every year. So if you get on our mailing list and you follow us on social media, that's the best way to stay connected. Go to our website and then sign up for our newsletter. And we send out around 4 a year, a little bit more around Big Day of Giving, and then a little bit more in December for our big fundraiser. But we'll announce on those outlets when volunteer applications become available and when camper applications become available. So that's the best way to stay informed about what we're doing.
Well, believe me, I'm going to be watching this very carefully. And
Good.
some people are saying the link's not working, but every time I click it, it's working for me. So it definitely works if you go to underneath the video on YouTube and show notes. John, in January, I did 31 consecutive shows, and I called it Thriving in the Face of Cancer. And the last question that I asked every single guest, whether they were a doctor, a survivor, or somebody just doing something that had to do with cancer, and you both can actually answer this. What message of hope would you share with somebody currently facing a cancer diagnosis?
Number one, I wouldn't listen. I mean, I would listen to my doctors, but I would not. If any doctor gives you a timeline, don't listen to the timeline. All they're giving you is the average, amount of time that someone who's diagnosed with your type of cancer lives. But that doesn't have to be you. I think if you go in with a positive attitude and you stay positive and you give thanks for all the ways that you're blessed, you will benefit from that and you will get the most out of whatever life you have left. And that, again, it's not, doesn't take a cancer diagnosis for someone to pass away. I mean, anyone without cancer could jump in their car right now and be driving down the street and get hit by a drunk driver and die. So I try to keep that in my mind at all times. Just because I have a cancer diagnosis doesn't mean that I'm going to pass away any sooner or later than the next guy. And, I try to stay positive. I try to make the most of the time that I'm here. And I mean, just go out there and love on people. I mean, if someone can see you as a cancer patient loving on others, it is inspirational and it will show people that, you have to make the most of what you're given. You're dealt a hand of cards and you've got to make the best suit possible. So, go out and do it and don't be afraid to do it. And don't be negative. Each and every one of us could tell a story that would probably make people cry. But no, but I'm not saying that people don't want to hear it and they don't want to be there to support you through it. But at the same time, it's so much better to just come off and be positive and let people know that, hey, you know what? Yes, I have cancer, but I'm living with cancer. I'm not letting cancer take me. So, that's the way I try to live my life. And I try to go out and make the very most of what experiences I've had in my life. I mean, I worked for Disney for 7 years doing events. Now I take that experience that I have from working at Disney doing events to doing this camp for adult cancer patients. I take every experience that I've been given in my life and I try to use it to bring happiness to people. So that's what I would encourage everyone to do.
Well, thank you. And I take your advice because I immediately said, do not tell me how long I have. I don't want to know. I don't know. I've been here 2.5 years, so I'm not dead yet, and I don't want to know. I'm curious, John, what's your favorite? I've never been to Disney World, so I know there's different rides. My
Mm.
favorite ride as a child was the Carousel of Progress, and I'm told
Oh,
that's
love that.
so the next thing on my bucket list is to go to Disney World. And one day when Bailey crosses the Rainbow Bridge, I am going to realize that dream with my husband. But what is your favorite ride at Disneyland?
Disneyland. I would have to say I love Star Tours.
Mm.
I really love Star Tours when it very first came out. It was the only ride in Disney at Disneyland that had to do with Star Wars. Um, and so yeah, I'd say that's my favorite Star Tours. Um, Although, I like some of the classic rides as well, but at the Peter Pan, gotta love Peter Pan. That's actually
My favorite.
where I asked my wife to marry me. Um,
Know that?
yeah,
Oh, now I
yeah.
love it even more. Peter Pan's my favorite.
So yeah, I do love Peter Pan's a good one as well.
I have a friend that works at Disneyland, and you can get married in front of the
Oh,
castle.
yes, you can. For enough money, you can do pretty much anything you want to do at
Not a
Disneyland.
good. They're early in the morning before it opens. Have you been on Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Train?
Yes, I have. I just did that, I think my last trip. So
I think
but
that's my new favorite ride. It always
I,
was Pirates, but that ride was so fun and so
yeah.
precious.
Well, I would say, I mean, my all-time favorite right now has got to be now again, Rise of the Resistance. It's just absolutely amazing. Just the technologies that they use, and I mean, you feel like you've been transported to, one of the Darth ships, and it's crazy. So,
Oh.
but I love Disney. I can go there and just not even go on rides and just sit on the benches and just people watch with my wife and laugh and just have a good day. But yeah, Disney is definitely
Hey, wait, I just had an idea, Erica. Why can't Disneyland just open it up for you guys? You know how, like, when I was in
that'd be
high
nice.
school,
Wouldn't that be amazing?
when I was in high school, we had this thing called grad night. And one night, Disneyland stayed open and all the different high schools came. Why can't Disneyland give you a night for this?
Why can't Disneyland give us a
Why can't
right?
Disneyland
Yeah.
give us that
You got to
night?
put it out there in the universe. So if anybody knows someone
I,
that I
I know
can reach
people
out
that work there, but
to, yeah,
I mean, look, you know what they say. My college professor at University of Pennsylvania, Murray B. Dolphin, used to say, "You don't ask, you don't get." If anybody
that's
has
right. That's right.
Disneyland, ask them to open up the park for all the adults and kids with cancer, and have them go through Mi1. Now, say us again. What does it cost to send one family of six to cancer up to camp? Sorry.
$3,000 is the cost for one family.
Wow. I should be able to get 5 people to pay $600. I mean, my gosh, even
Absolutely.
actually, I would ask for like 5,000 just because, I mean, it's not for me. I'm, so
That's
anyway,
right.
this is incredible. So I'll ask you the same question I just asked John, because I know you know a lot of people with your work that have cancer. What message of hope would you share with somebody currently facing a cancer diagnosis?
My message of hope would be that as isolating as this feels, you're not alone. You're not alone, and there are people who care, and there are people who want to help. And asking for help and sharing your story it's okay. That would be it, just that you're not alone.
I
Thank
really like that a lot. And the fact that, telling people that you have cancer or asking people for help is not a weakness.
Right.
That's why we're all here, is to help one another.
Yep.
And when one person falls down, there's someone else right there to help pick them back up.
Yeah.
And so, don't consider it a weakness to ask for help if help is needed.
There's still good in the world. There is. And I am so grateful I get to witness that all the time through the Mi1 Foundation. There's still good in the world.
Yeah, and you guys are doing a lot of it. So thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting both of you, and I hope I see you in the hood one day.
We hope so.
Absolutely.
Thank
All
you
right.
for having us.
Well, thank
I'll be looking for you next time I go to grab dinner.
yeah, I'll be at Garden of Eden Tuesday
All
nights.
right.
Thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ and Friends. Please come back next week at 1 p.m. Pacific time on Thursday, March 20th for Colleen Patrick.